Hey everybody, and welcome back to Talking Poop. I'm your host, Jason Bromley, and with me today, back by special request, Brian the Madman Gunn.
I'm happy to be here. Happy that people were requesting me to come back. I love being on the podcast.
I give the people what the people want.
All 64 of them.
Last time you were here, you were talking about war. It was a very poignant series. I think you touched a lot of people's lives. But today, we're going to talk about something really important. How to fix the DC universe.
We have to be ready. You, me, the others. There's an attack coming from far away.
Not coming, Bruce. It's already here.
Do you lose sleep at night? Grab your pillow tight. Do you struggle to find why Han and Luke had to die? Are you just a mess? Does Hollywood leave you stressed? Because their sequels are more important than fan requests. Hold on to your chair, cause Talking Poop takes you there. You might have to change into some new underwear. Talking Poop.
I want to talk about, people are having a hard time with the title of the show. They don't understand, what does Talking Poop mean? They're like, because I don't really come on here and just talk about negative shit, you know, like I'm not talking shit about stuff.
Right.
To me, talking poop isn't like talking bad about stuff. It's just like, you know, hanging out, talking some poop.
I've never heard the term before the podcast. I don't think anyone's heard this term.
Maybe I'm coining the phrase. I don't know. But like I used to sit around and, you know, shoot the poop, talk about everything, you know?
Okay.
See what floats, see what flushes. Like that's what talking poop is.
Well, today we're going to flush a lot and hopefully a few things float.
Well, yeah, today we are going to talk some shit about the DC universe because it is wrong.
Well, that's their fault. That's not ours.
It's not our fault, but we're not just going to just naysay it. We're here to help them fix it. So we're going to offer suggestions on what they could do to fix it. And like, I feel like if they just handed me the script, I don't even have to see the finished movie to know it's wrong.
Yeah.
When they handed me the script for Batman v Superman, or they handed me the script for Justice League, I'd be able to say, you guys are way off base here. We need a rewrite, you know? So, and I'm sure out of our 64 listeners, one of them is on the board at Warner Brothers and has some power to make some changes.
That math makes sense.
I mean, yeah. Out of 64 people, one of them has to work for Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Makes sense.
The Warner Brothers started out its current DC universe post Nolan Batman with Man of Steel, where we tried to reboot the Man of Steel. They forgot all about that Return of Superman stuff with Brandon Routh.
No, that's fine.
And Bryan Singer. They just flushed that down the toilet and they said, we need a brand new thing, and this is going to be the start of our official DC universe. So they started off with Man of Steel, and I thought they picked a great Superman.
Yeah, Henry Cavill as Superman was very believable.
Yeah, he was very good. And I was so glad they picked a no-name, because it's so hard if you've seen somebody in something else to then see them as Superman.
Agreed, definitely.
And I think they did a really good job with that movie. And I understand that they had to like change it and make Superman more like, he couldn't just be the like ultimate Boy Scout. That's what everybody always complains about Superman.
Right. That
he's too strong, he has no weaknesses, and he's such a Boy Scout that like you can't relate to him because he has no problems.
Right.
Who are you?
A friend.
I felt they made him a little too angsty in these. They upplayed the alien aspect of him, that he really is from another planet, and that people saw him as a threat rather than as like a detriment to society, that he's like the savior of mankind.
I think they had to do that with the direction they were going in. If they knew they were going to do Batman versus Superman, which I'm not giving DC any like forward credit here because I don't know if they knew they were going to do that. They didn't have a plan like Marvel did, where they were planning things and bringing things together. So it was just a byproduct of the way he was raised in that movie, and they showed so much of Krypton, and I loved it. I thought Russell Crowe being on Krypton, showing that whole scene was great. And then being raised by Kevin Costner, he's the one who made him socially awkward. He's the one who really warned him from an early age that you're not like these other boys. You cannot fit in with them. You cannot play safely with them. And you can't, no matter what, even to save my life in that tornado, you can't show people what you are.
Right.
So it didn't surprise me that he turned out that way, that when you see him wandering from job to job, place to place, he doesn't fit in. That made sense.
Yeah, it did make sense. Unlike in Batman v Superman, when he just like wants to kill Batman, and Batman just wants to kill him, and there's no real reason for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've seen those two. There's plenty of excuses for those two to fight because
Exactly.
fans have wanted to see that for forever. So that storyline goes way back, and we've seen them fight several times in the comics and in the animated movies for much better reasons than I just don't know enough about him. He could be dangerous.
Exactly. He's the world's greatest detective, and he didn't like fucking Google Superman
Right.
to like see like what he's all about.
Yeah.
So they set up this thing that like, okay, so Batman, I mean, I understand they do try to set it up. They set it up that like when Superman destroyed the entirety of Metropolis, when he's fighting an alien invasion, that only happened because he was on Earth. So Bruce Wayne's upset about that. But
Bruce Wayne's got his fair share of destruction to lay at his own feet, so
exactly, and
kind of felt pretty weak justification there.
it was a weak justification. And like Bruce Wayne, he's supposed to be Batman, so he's like one of the world's greatest thinkers. So he didn't just like think like, well, yeah, he brought these guys to our town, but they're really the aggressors. He was really trying to like stop them.
Yeah.
And if they would have killed Superman, it would have been up to me to stop them. And I'm just a guy with like a lot of cool weapons.
Well,
and shit.
he definitely could have done it, no problem.
Well, he did get the metal suit. He could have done the same thing to Superman. He could have thrown down with Zod that way.
Oh yeah, Batman versus Zod, no contest. That's all Batman.
I don't know. I feel like Zod might have just like peeled that stupid metal mask off and popped his head like a grape.
No, he's got the kryptonite to back him up. Batman's always got a plan. This is where DC just needs to get back to their roots and find these stories that are already in the comics and already in these animated movies that do so well. One of those is showing how Batman has a plan. It's an animated movie called Justice League Tower of Babel, referring back to the biblical story where no one could understand each other, no one could trust each other. And basically Darkseid steals Batman's plans to handle all of the Justice League heroes. And they come out on top, of course, but in the end of the movie is when the Justice League is like, "Hey, Batman, why were you keeping tabs on us? Why did you have a plan to neutralize all of us? And why were those files on your computer? And if you don't delete those, you can't be in the Justice League anymore." And Batman goes, "Okay, bye."
Yeah.
It's like that would have been a great story that could have showed him, Batman, fighting these other superheroes or Superman, and then still having a satisfying conclusion, and it doesn't feel like a weak justification.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's the thinking Batman. And that's one of the things that, like, that's what's great about Batman, is that, like, with some of these other characters, you can maybe, like, forgive stupidity or making rash decisions, but Batman is, like, a tactician and a detective, and he's not going to make decisions like that. He's going to make powerful, right decisions. That's why he's in the Justice League.
He's an unapologetic sociopath.
Exactly.
And when they show him like that and they do a good job, that's my favorite. That's why I love Batman. When he goes into his computer and he's like, "Start Operation Fenrir," and all these plans pull up to neutralize all these Justice League members, I'm absolutely in love with Batman at that moment. Like, who thinks ahead like that?
Right.
Who plans for those contingencies? Oh yeah, Batman does.
Right.
Show
And
me that in a movie.
That is my biggest thing with these movies, is that, like, I know a lot of comic book nerds, and I'm included in that, don't want any change. They want our characters to be the way they were when we were kids. But all that comes down to is that you have to be true to their essence.
Yes.
If you stay true to the essence, you can change the costume, you can change the backstory, you can change the way the characters interact, but you have to be true to that essence. And that's where they're missing that with Superman. But then they try to just say that was, so, like, the people didn't trust Superman. He brought an alien invasion of Metropolis. But then in Batman v Superman, or more so in Justice League even, where Superman's dead, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Oops. So if you haven't seen Justice League, well, that's on you.
Here's another spoiler alert. Superman comes back, and everyone saw it coming. Even the people who don't read the comic books saw it coming, and it felt cheap the whole time because you knew he was going to come back, and there was this whole, like, he's gone, we need to be a team, we can't do it without him. And then they become a team, and then he shows up, and I felt like the whole team aspect is thrown out the window.
Exactly. And it really was. But you're jumping ahead of where I want to be right now.
I'm sorry.
So they set it up that, like, the world is missing Superman and that the world can't live without him. But they never showed us that in a movie before.
Right.
You know?
And that actually, to me, does kind of make sense because everybody becomes, the world's biggest hero when they die. Have you ever noticed that? Like,
That is true.
There's
yeah.
there's a guy that you know is kind of a shitbag, and then he dies in like a drunk driving accident or something, and then everyone comes out of the woodwork like, he's such a great guy, he was great. Oh man, he was just 6 months behind on his child support, but what a great guy, and you know all these things, and you're like, I kind of remember him being an asshole. So I could see that, like, Superman dies defending Earth, and then all of a sudden Earth being like, he was great. Now that he's gone, we really like him.
All right, well, you fucked up my argument, so
Sorry.
episode over. DC, you're right. I just didn't look into it deep enough. I'm sorry. I apologize.
But it did.
Thanks for joining us.
At the same time, it did feel rushed. Like, we do want to see that. We do want to see the transition. We don't just want to see, like, oh, he's got a statue now.
I think part of the whole problem with DC is it's quite obvious that they looked at what Marvel was doing.
Yes.
And they were like, we want that, but we have to go about it a different way. So instead of, like, thinking that through, they just were like, let's do the opposite of what Marvel did. So Marvel set up all their characters, and then we saw them in Avengers, and it was exciting.
Yeah.
And I felt like each character had a gravitas that we had already seen.
Because they had given each character a movie of
Each-
screen time.
Exactly. And so, like, you have all of this past already in there that you've seen. And so when you see them in the Avengers, they don't each need a huge story in Avengers because we've already seen a lot of their story.
Yes.
So they just need a couple of cool little minutes.
Yes.
And that makes a great movie. With Justice League, they just were like,
And I'm going to throw Suicide Squad in there.
well, okay, yeah.
Where they just introduce people for 5 minutes.
Right.
And then we're
you're
supposed
just
to care
know
about
who
them.
they are and care about them. Exactly. No, yeah, no. DC's biggest thing right now is that they're just throwing the movies out there and telling us that there's all this backstory and that they're going to explain it. It's like, we promise it's coming, but they aren't giving us that. The movie comes out, it flops, it fucking sucks, everybody's pissed with it, and then DC shits their pants and goes, oh fuck, cancel all the plans that we had for all this stuff that was coming
Just
out.
wrong.
Which is just wrong, exactly. And they're just like, just accept it for what it is. And now they're so shit scared that they're trying to reboot their universe in their universe, and they're saying, oh, there's multiple Batmans and there's multiple Jokers. Yes, Jared Leto is a Joker, but he's the Suicide Squad Joker. But there's also going to be a Joaquin Phoenix Joker that has nothing to do with the Suicide Squad, and that's just a bad move.
You're just going to confuse and alienate your fans. I think DC saw the success that Marvel was having, and they decided, someone at the top who does not read comic books or is not a fan decided superheroes are hot right now.
Yeah.
We need to get stuff out.
Right.
And they didn't care about their character building. And what frustrated me is, in my opinion, is story is character driven. It doesn't matter if you have a good character. It doesn't matter where you put them or what situation you put them in. People will care and people will want to see it resolved because they care about the character.
Right.
And Justice League was absolutely rushed out. We saw Cyborg and Aquaman and Flash in the movie without knowing anything about them.
Yeah, we
with
were just
5 minutes of
introducing all these main characters as part of this team, and I only felt like I had half the story, you know?
What are your superpowers again? I'm rich.
And at the same time, for people like Batman and Superman and even Wonder Woman, that's kind of the trifecta right there of DC, the top 3, we don't need their origins again in another movie.
Exactly, and that's what DC's missing, is that they're like, well, we can skip all the origin stuff, and we can just get to the point. You can skip all the origin stuff because people are aware of it.
For like Batman or Superman.
But we need story set up. We need to understand why Batman has this relationship with this new Alfred.
I thought the perfect opportunity they missed in Batman vs. Superman was, once again, they showed us Batman's parents dead in an alley. Yeah.
In the opening the movie with it, you know, and it's like,
check, got it, Roger,
yeah,
I understand.
That was the last thing we needed to see again in that movie.
And then they tease us by showing us this Robin costume that's obviously been torn up, and we know Robin died, but we always see is the costume, and we assume that Joker was tied into it somehow. Man, if you had showed me that backstory.
Exactly.
Because that was what made the Ben Affleck Batman the way he was.
Right.
That's why he was this cranky old man.
Start the movie with that scene.
Yes.
That's what I mean. You don't need origins.
That was such a huge missed opportunity.
Character moments.
We all know Batman's parents got killed after they left the opera. We all know that. We've all seen it. We've all read it. We've done it 1,000 times. Nolan did it, and it was perfect. It wasn't perfect, but it was done well. We don't need it again. If you had showed me,
Burton did it as well.
yeah, exactly,
But
exactly.
it goes to your point. We've seen it.
We've seen it
repeatedly.
It's in the movies. It's in the comics. It's common knowledge. It's pop culture knowledge at this point. But a lot of people don't realize that there's multiple Robins, and that some of those Robins have tragic endings. For example, he gets killed by Joker. Mm-hmm. Show me that.
Exactly.
I've seen it in the animated series, and it blows your mind.
Right.
And it twists Batman, and it really screws him up.
Yeah.
That's why Affleck was that way. Show me that.
Right.
Don't
He
tell
realizes
me that.
Batman realizes that he got a kid killed, and that his mission isn't all about him anymore.
Exactly.
And he's like, if I'm gonna bring people into this world that aren't as skilled as I am, there's repercussions to that.
Exactly.
And it messed Batman up for a long time. And we come in with Ben Affleck's Batman, where we're told that he's been in Gotham for 20 years and that he's been doing this for 20 years, and he's kind of burnt out and grizzled. Mm-hmm. But we don't get any explanation for that. What do we get? We get 10 minutes of screen time in the beginning to re-see his origin again.
Yep.
And there was that horseshit where the bats come flying up and lift the little Bruce Wayne into the air.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that, I'm like,
weird.
oh God, we're in bad territory now. Like,
Right.
It's already stupid.
It is. So my take on how DC can fix this and compete with Marvel is to do something differently than Marvel.
Shall we?
They shouldn't be trying to do these superhero team-up movies where they put as many popular characters on screen at one time as possible and they just jam them in there. I think DC needs to step back and just make individual superhero movies for people like Cyborg, for people like Flash, for people like Green Lantern, and even Martian Manhunter, who's a key character in Justice League, and we haven't really seen yet. So show me those individual backstories. Have a long-term goal. Don't just stop throwing things out there without a plan. Focus on their individual character stories, and don't worry about the Justice League movie yet. Don't worry about Justice League 2. Just give me the heroes that could be involved in that and make me care about them.
Well, and that's what they did with Wonder Woman, which, I think that Wonder Woman was probably in development before any of this other stuff was. When they were planning solo movies. I think their original thought was to do Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and then we'll start getting to Flash, Green Lantern,
Which would have been perfect.
That should have been the way that they did it. But with Wonder Woman, they released it, and it was a standalone story. It was origin, which maybe with Wonder Woman is a little lesser known character.
Right.
So you can do the origin with Wonder Woman, and I thought they did a good job with that. And then they moved it on, but they always kept it with her. There was no Superman cameos in there.
Yeah, no
Flash
one came
didn't
in,
show up from the
yeah.
future to tell her some secret message.
Nobody came in to steal her thunder.
Exactly. It was
Yeah.
all about her. It was a character building movie. It had flaws too. People talk about it like it's perfect,
No, it's
And
just
it's not.
they talk about it like that because we
the
didn't
others were
expect
so
much
bad.
out of DC. Yeah, we've
Exactly.
expected such crap from them lately.
We're like,
to
oh,
see
look.
a good standalone movie was refreshing.
Right. And Marvel's not perfect. Marvel seems
no.
to hit a home run every time, but they don't. I mean, like Thor 2 wasn't that great. Iron Man 2 wasn't that great.
Yeah.
Thor 3 knocks it out of the park because they were like, let's change it, but they kept the essence of Thor. Mm-hmm. And then they took what people liked about it, like, oh, people like it when Thor and the Hulk banter back and forth.
Yeah.
Let's put that in a whole movie.
Well, again, as I was talking about DC earlier, how DC needs to go discover their gems that are already there in the comics. Marvel just went and they just used these gems. They're like, oh, Planet Hulk. Okay.
Yeah, people love that story.
They didn't tell that
Let's
story
not tell
exactly, but they
Planet
used
Hulk.
parts of it.
Right,
And
exactly.
it worked out really well. And now we have a Hulk character who we're used to seeing just smashing things and being this unstoppable force, who now's got this like psychological block. And in Infinity War, Bruce Banner can't even turn into Hulk because his mind's so like messed up about it. It's like that's a huge character flaw that I love to see and I want to see resolved.
Right.
I don't want my characters to be perfect and I don't want everything to be easy for them. We got to see that conflict.
And that way, when we see Hulk not wanting to come out in Avengers, it's just a little character moment. But we've got all this backstory now and all these cool interactions with each other.
Exactly. If that had been the first movie Hulk was in, and then it's like, oh, he doesn't want to change into Hulk, that problem must happen all the time.
Right.
That must be a thing. And and I wouldn't be nearly as invested in that character. But because I'd seen him in other films, and including like the Edward Norton standalone Hulk films, I care more about him. Mm-hmm. And I think Mark Ruffalo is like a fantastic Hulk. I think that guy does a fantastic Bruce Banner, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, they've done really good. But let's not forget that wasn't even their original intention.
Right.
Edward Norton was supposed to be the Hulk.
Exactly.
They did a whole movie with them. That was supposed to kick off the.
And we got a Hulk movie before that with Eric
Banner.
Yes.
Or, Eric Bana.
Bana
Yeah.
playing Bruce Banner.
And that movie was dog shit. I
Yeah,
thought the
that
Edward
was
Norton
rough.
Hulk was pretty good.
I did too.
But they had to recast, and I think they did a really good job with it. But that's one of those things where they were like, okay, pause. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's figure out what we're going to do now and continue.
And look at that. That's the only time as a major Avenger character that someone was recast. We
Right.
still have Robert Downey Jr. We have Chris Evans. We have Chris Hemsworth. We have Scarlett Johansson. We have all those guys and ladies. And now we have DC that has a couple movies out, and DC's like, man, we gotta burn it down and reboot.
They're constantly shuffling. They're like, they make a mistake, and they're like, oh no. And now they've done Wonder Woman. And then you had Wonder Woman and Justice League come out at the same time.
Yeah.
Justice League wasn't really well received. Wonder Woman was. So now we can see their future plan with Aquaman. They're like, well, we got to make Aquaman Wonder Woman. And I look at that Aquaman trailer, and it's just got Wonder Woman written all over it.
I'm pretty excited for Jason Momoa as Aquaman,
Just like a bat. I dig it.
but I'm not excited for the movie overall because of this history, this past
Right.
we have with DC movies.
Yeah, you can just see where they're just floundering. They're trying to figure it out, and they've got all the seeds in place. Their casting is really good.
Yes.
The look of the movies is gorgeous.
Affleck, I don't know.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about Affleck for sure. We've actually already done a whole podcast about Affleck, but
That's true. We did bash on him enough, I guess.
We are going to get to Affleck though, because that's probably the weakest casting, and he's the biggest star in their
Right.
universe,
Right.
and it's the weakest casting point.
Maybe temporary.
I also feel in that movie when he was the one going around recruiting, I felt like that's very out of character for Batman.
Oh my God.
Even if Batman knows that a huge threat is coming, Batman will just plan to deal with it. He's not a team player. He does not start the Justice League. In fact, in the beginning, he's very reluctant about it. And he, just like in the Tower of Babel, he walks away from Justice League several times and just says, call me when you need me. When you guys are in trouble, and you will be,
Right.
You'll need me.
Even in the animated series,
Right.
He's like, I'm not going to hang out on the watchtower and listen to the phone. I'll be in the Batcave.
Yes.
And when you guys need a hero, you know who to call.
Exactly. Yeah.
and that's the problem with where I talk about the fundamentals of the character. Fundamentally, Batman would not be the one who would put the Justice League together. And that's where that whole movie misstepped, because I could have looked at the script and said, guys, this is wrong and needs to be changed, and it's an easy change. We don't have to throw the movie away.
Right.
We just have to rearrange it so that Batman is the holdout. Aquaman should not be the holdout.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he was in the movie. And if anything, and it's not like, well, if Batman doesn't do it, we don't have a big enough character to do it. Wonder Woman should put together the Justice League.
You just had a smashing success with her movie.
Exactly.
Have her put the team together. Have her realize the threat. She's got the resources. She's got the skills to do that. She's smart enough.
Exactly. Also, they misstepped by trying to not have Superman in the Justice League movie. And they did it
Until the last, 10 minutes?
Not because of a good reason. They did it because of lazy writing. And the guy, Zack Snyder even said, we couldn't have Superman as the head of the Justice League because then there's no one that can go against him. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Where is your Thanos? Well, and you can't say DC doesn't have a Thanos.
Oh, we've
it's
got
Darkseid.
Darkseid, yeah.
And why the fuck are we seeing a Justice League movie with a guy named after a bad 80s metal band, Steppenwolf? Why is he the big bad in Justice League?
Right.
What are you playing with our balls for? Make us come. Seriously.
Give us the good stuff.
It's Justice League.
Yeah, this was your
This
big
was your
toss
chance.
of the dice.
This was your toss of the dice, and they fucking held back, and they said, they've hinted to Darkseid in past movies. In Batman v Superman, they did a whole little sequence that didn't make any sense about Batman being in the desert and shooting motherfuckers in the face.
Oh my, that was yeah.
And that was all about setting up Darkseid, and then we don't even say his fucking name in Justice League.
Right. And then to just touch again on the Marvel movies really quick, their continuity. In the very first Avengers movie, yeah, it's Loki that's taken on New York, but it's Thanos who provided him that army.
Exactly.
And it's just like the continuity that they have through these movies is amazing. And DC, they set up this thing with Darkseid, and we don't hear about it.
Never pay it off. The same thing with the Robin costume. We see something in the background, we never pay it off.
And this is how I feel it just they're using all these different directors and everything, and like this is how I always feel if I go to a J.J. Abrams movie, is he's going to set me up with a bunch of questions that are not going to answer for me. So I expect that when I go to one of his movies. I'm not too excited for him to be doing episode 9 because I think we're all going to leave the theater with a bunch of questions, but that's all right. I don't expect it when I go see a Zack Snyder movie. I know Zack Snyder's not the best writer, but he typically delivers at least good action and good character, but in Justice League.
Well, and that was another mess. You know, you lost Zack Snyder halfway through it, and you know, people are saying that like, well, if we had, you know, the Zack Snyder,
they went through 2 before they landed on Ron Howard, right? Or not Ron.
Mixing
That
it
was
all
Solo.
up.
That was Solo
Yeah.
movie.
No, so
We're just gonna edit that out.
They lost Zack Snyder, and then they brought in Josh Whedon, which was such a pussy move. They're like, who can fix this? Well, we don't want to be like Marvel, but let's bring in the guy that did it for Marvel to do it for us. What a stupid fucking move, and it was uncreative move.
A team effort at Marvel. It's not one person that can take all the credit for their success. Right. It's a huge team effort over there. Yeah. So to just say we're going to bring in one director and he's going to fix everything is very short-sighted.
It is, and then they didn't even give him directing credit. If you watch Justice League, it's Zack Snyder's credit as the director.
Oof.
Not Josh Whedon.
That's rough.
That is rough, you know, and people are saying that like, oh, there's a whole nother cut of Justice League out there that's Josh Whedon or that's Zack Snyder's, and it's badass and it would fix everything. No,
probably not.
He made Batman v Superman, one of the most egregious movies to come
Martha.
out. I mean, yeah,
Terrible.
everybody talks about that's lazy fucking writing.
The whole thing was lazy. The whole thing where they were fighting is lazy, but we already talked about that.
It was totally lazy. It came about from the wrong place. And then when you finally by the time you get to the point where they fight, which is the only thing you wanted to see,
yeah,
it's so weighed down with horse shit that you just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because you're like, these are supposed to be heroes and they're fighting like a couple of children fighting over a toy in kindergarten.
Especially if it's like, this isn't year one Batman, which is a great comic series, which I definitely think DC should explore as movies as year one. This was supposed to be like a veteran experienced Batman. He knows better than that to just start picking fights with other heroes. Like, he could do investigating. He could talk to them.
He wouldn't pick a fight. He'd find out about kryptonite, and then he'd get some for himself quietly, without Superman knowing about it.
Which is exactly what he does in the comics and the movies, which is another reason why I love him. When they do this, they explore these alternate universes in these animated movies. They delve into modern day problems. And one of them is the Kingdom Come. It's the old Justice League is retired. Superman's retired. Everyone's hanging it up, and they have a new crop of young heroes coming in. But the way the new heroes handle everything is extremely violent. They're just whacking people left and right.
Because there's no crime left, so all they do is fight each other.
So
they're like, I'm a bad guy, so I fight good guys, but they don't even, it's not even about crime anymore. It's just about the battle.
It's about power.
Yeah.
So then Superman and the rest of the Justice League has to come out of retirement to, like, you know, put a leash on the new Justice League. And I thought it would just be great, like, how divided our country is right now, to show this movie about how even the heroes get divided. Show me the flaws. You know, Watchmen is a DC comic, and I know we're staying in the realm of Batman and Superman, but that was such a well done movie, and I love it when they showed the heroes have flaws. After they retire, they get divorced, they have gambling problems, they do drugs, and you're just like, oh man, I can't really imagine like Superman snorting a line of coke in his retirement, but I can definitely see some other heroes doing it.
Right.
And I liked that. So get into these comic books, explore some of these alternate universes. There's fantastic ones. The Batman Black Mirror, where Dick Grayson now has the new mantle of Batman. And he's struggling with being Batman, and he's struggling because all the city's villains know he's not Bruce Wayne. And they're like, ooh, yeah, let's test this new Batman out and see how good he really is. So it's a dual struggle there, and it just turns into an amazing movie where you really care about Dick Grayson as Batman and what he's going to do with it. So show me some of that. You have gems hidden in here. I have a whole list here of my favorite DC storylines. I could go on for ages and ages about all the great material they have available to them, and they're just not using.
Right. And I think as fans, we don't want to see like a retelling of those stories. Like a great example is the new animated Death of Superman. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that animated one, no.
All right, so they just released this thing. The Death of Superman was a story that was big in, I think, 96 or something like that. Comic books were very different then than they are now.
Right.
But they were able to take that story, and they've done, I should reiterate, they've done Death of Superman before, and it was awful. And they did an animated version, and it was just terrible.
Yeah.
It was horseshit. So they did this new one. He's got the new costume. Back in the other Justice League, like, one of the things was that, like, I don't know if DC didn't have all the rights to their big characters, or they were trying to keep them separated or whatever, but, like, it seemed like it was a bigger deal to have a crossover. So in the original Death of Superman, the Justice League is like Blue Beetle, Booster Gold, Guy Gardner, like all these second tier characters. And that's not the case anymore. So in this new Death of Superman, it was Batman, Flash, Green Lantern. They came and fought Doomsday, and that made more sense to me, because back in the day I thought, like, why is the Justice League watching this on the news, letting Superman get his fucking ass handed to him, and they're not helping? In this one, the Justice League gets fucking worked, and Doomsday kicks their ass, and that really, like, ups the ante. And then Superman shows up, and you're like, oh, here's the fucking throwdown. And that movie, it updated everything. It changed the relationships between Lois and Lois and Clark and all that stuff. But it still had the essence of the character and the essence of Superman. And Doomsday wasn't just this big, stupid CGI lug. He was a genuine threat.
Yeah.
He was pure evil. And for some reason, they can't ever get pure evil right in movies.
It's tough.
Characters always have to have, well, I want money, I want sex, I want to hurt the good guy for some reason. The closest I think they've ever got is Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight. The Joker really was an anarchist. And when they showed him burn that money, you're just like, holy shit.
Yep.
How do you stop a guy who wants nothing?
Yeah.
This city deserves a better
That was a great
And that's Doomsday's thing, was that he's a creature of pure hate. And Martian Manhunter reads his mind, and they're like, what's he thinking, John? And he's like, all I feel is hate. And he's like a missile with a target. And that's all he is. There's no thoughts in there.
Wow.
And that scares the shit out of me, because how do you stop something like that?
Yeah. What's his weakness? What's his flaw?
Yeah.
You got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Batman's got to figure it out.
Batman's got to figure it out. Yeah. Superman just beats him mercilessly until finally they both break each other's necks and they both die. That's a great story. For DC to try to do Doomsday the way they did in Batman v Superman, where he was just like this genetic experiment of Lex Luthor's, cloned from General Zod.
Yeah, Zod's DNA resurrected in the ship.
With Lex's DNA? Like, what the fuck is Lex's DNA gonna have? It's gonna make Doomsday have a little dick?
Also, super weird having Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. That was
bad too.
The extravagant character where he's just like, I love bringing people together, and he's like all over the place. Lex is a calm, reserved, intelligent man.
Exactly.
He's not extravagant like that. And to go back to like these gems that DC has, one of them is Red Sun, where instead of landing in Kansas, Superman lands in Russia. So he's literally in Stalin's inner circle during the Cold War. And back in America, it's Lex Luthor who is advising the president on how to like take out this new Russian weapon. So Lex Luthor is the hero, and Superman's the villain.
Is that how a warped brain like yours gets its kicks?
And it's just such a cool, unique perspective on it. I don't understand, why can't DC do some standalone films like that, where they're not part of this bigger universe, where they're not trying to cash in on the Avenger initiative or whatever. They're just making their movies that we like. If they made Red Sun, I would go see that in a heartbeat.
Oh, for sure, dude. And the same thing with just like they haven't done Superman right yet. They did Superman versus Batman, which I don't know how you feel, but I think there should have been a Batman standalone film before that movie.
Oh, if you were going to introduce me to a new Batman, he's the main guy for DC. It's him or Superman.
Yeah.
And if you think it's Superman, you're wrong, but it's Batman. And he's the main guy for DC, and then you're just going to throw him into a movie where he's fighting Superman and he's been Batman for 20 years. Again, it just goes back to like, show me this character, not necessarily the origin,
right?
But show me this character. I just think that whole Batman is out of character. Ben Affleck's Batman is just out of character for Batman for me.
My turn.
What I want to see is like get back to his detective roots. Make the movie, the comic Batman: The Long Halloween. This is where you get introduced to, like, he's not a major villain. This holiday killer is not a major villain, but he's killing people on holidays, and he's killing mobsters and criminals. And Batman it's a noir film. He's a detective the whole time, and it's very character driven and it's very story driven. And you see a really frustrated Batman who's trying to catch this guy, and he's not going to destroy the world. You know, the universe is not at stake. It's nothing unbelievable like that. It's very much real stakes. And I think if they got back to that, we all know the Earth's not going to blow up. When Zod comes and says he's going to destroy Earth and Superman, we all know they're going to stop him somehow, because the Earth is not going to be destroyed in these movies. But if you have something that feels more real, like the serial killer is going to stay out and going to keep killing people, that's a much more real stake for me. And I want to see Batman solve that crime and work on his detective skills that way.
Yeah, the smaller individual stories, like with Wonder Woman, is what I'm talking about. And I
Yes.
mean, Wonder Woman, the stakes in Wonder Woman were kind of high, with them, being involved in World War I and all that stuff.
I actually thought that ending would have been way better if it turns out that he wasn't Ares. He wasn't a Greek god it was just mankind being shitty to each other.
That, exactly.
Because that is what we do.
And as soon as she started fighting a big CG monster at the end, I was out of it, dude.
Exactly. If that had just ended with, Ares doesn't have any hand in World War I. World War I's just a fucking miscommunication and misunderstanding that led to, before World War II, the worst war we'd ever had.
Right.
That's just humans being shitty people.
Right.
That would have been a way better ending, and it would have been a great lesson for Wonder Woman coming off her island where she's so naive.
Everything is so picturesque and like
they all get along, and they're all warriors, but they all get along and everything. Where it's like, it would have really showed her that maybe mankind's not worth fighting for, all the time.
Right. Well, let's be realistic. If there was an island full of women and all of their periods were hitting at the same time, there would be some bloody battles being taken place.
1 week out of the month, you would not want a vacation there.
They would call it the Red Isle. I want to point out some things that really pissed me off about Justice League.
Yeah.
So they decided to just throw all their cards in and do this Justice League movie without any backstory. So what's done is done.
And you'd think they would learn the lesson from Suicide Squad. I'm going to go on record and say Suicide Squad is the worst superhero, supervillain, whatever you want to call it, worst movie I've ever seen in that category.
Now, see, a lot of people feel the same as you. I actually liked Suicide Squad. I thought Margot Robbie's
You're wrong.
Harley Quinn was sexy, hot, and amazing.
That is right. But the whole movie as a whole was ugh.
But yeah, I mean, the movie certainly had problems, and it didn't feel like it was part of a universe. And, again, doesn't do that well, so it's not discussed at all in Justice League.
Exactly.
Like, it was almost trying to set up Justice League. It hit on Superman being dead. And
they showed Batman for a little while.
Yeah.
And then it was like, they used him. I like how they loved it. DC makes a good trailer. I'll say that for them.
Oh, yeah.
They make a good trailer for a movie. Do. And they showed him in the trailer, and it was like, oh, man, Batman's going to show up in Suicide Squad? This is cool.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he doesn't.
Well, he does.
But
it's brief, very brief.
He's not really
almost not
in
even
the
a
story.
Cameo.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Joker. Joker was all over that fucking trailer. And
all over the trailer.
Barely in the movie.
Beginning and end, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, say what you will. You can hate, Jared Leto's Joker. You can love it. Most people hate it. But the idea that they're just like, it didn't hit, so we're going to just flush it and start over. No, you have to take your hits.
Yep.
And I think a big part of what's great about these characters is that there is continuity, and that's what Marvel does so well. They keep the continuity going, they keep the actors the same, and we're going through their story. Now they want to change it up, so they're going to do that with Infinity War. When we come out of Infinity War, we're not going to have the same Marvel universe that we had when we went in.
But that was always the plan.
Always the plan.
Because you have actors that are fantastic, Robert Downey Jr. and all those guys that they were excited when these roles came out, but you got to understand that like they're kind of sick of it now.
Exactly.
They've really been typecast as these heroes. They want to do other things. These are huge time obligations for them. Yes, they're making a ton of money. Robert Downey Jr. is raking it in, but after a certain amount of millions, it doesn't matter anymore. Not that I know. But the money stops to matter for them, and they're just kind of sick of doing the same character over and over again. As actors, they want to be creative, and in doing that, they have to bring a new persona to the screen. They're bringing the same persona over and over again, so they want to leave. That's fine, because that also gets set up in the Marvel comic books, where new people take the mantle of Iron Man. A woman takes the mantle of Thor.
Right.
People take over these roles, and they really need to implement that. It's hard for DC fans because we don't want anyone but Bruce Wayne as Batman, right?
Right.
We just want Bruce Wayne. But you can go beyond these guys.
Right.
You can leave Superman out of a DC movie. It's okay.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to see at the end of Infinity War 2, which I'm very excited for, we're going to see these characters pass on or die or move out or be phased out, but new people will take over. They're already setting it up with they have all these new members they've added in the last few movies.
Right.
Scarlet Witch, she didn't get her own movie, but she got enough screen time in Age of Ultron to make me understand her, to make me know her character. They didn't give her, here's 2 minutes of her backstory.
Right.
It was enough that they filtered in throughout the movie that I understood it. And now I care about her as a character.
It's those little character moments. Like, we don't need a whole origin story, but we have the character moments, and that's what DC is lacking. And, a lot of people complain with Infinity War that, it's all action. It's all about seeing them all on screen together. That's exactly right. It is.
Because they've already done their build-up.
Yes, they've done their homework. They've done the build-up, and they're being true to the characters. It's not like Robert Downey is just bailing out of the part and someone else is going to take over. He's taken the character to a place, they'll explain it, and then he'll be gone. And maybe he can cameo as Tony Stark later on if he doesn't die, which
that'd be great.
Think he will.
I think we're going to see this old guard of Avengers just get wiped.
Yeah, I have a whole theory about how Avengers is going to play out, but I don't want to ruin it for the whole world.
We'll do a Marvel episode later, but I do just want to say that in my opinion, Infinity War was Thanos' movie. Because even at the end it says Thanos will return.
Yeah.
This was Thanos' movie.
This
was not an Avengers movie.
Exactly.
This was his story. And even though he's the villain, I like him. He's not the pure evil that we were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. He does have a purpose, and he thinks what he's doing is right, and that makes the most dangerous people. Yeah. If you think what you're doing is justified, you'll stop at nothing.
That's what is great. That's what makes a great villain, is not just I'm cutting off my own dick from before, because I said that before, just having a villain of pure rage is awesome. It is awesome to do that, but that can't be everybody. Yes. Yeah, exactly. A villain that's trying to do something like what Thanos is doing, there's a reason behind it, and he's a thinking character. So I do want to see every side to him, because I don't think real villains don't think they're evil.
Hitler thought he was a good guy.
Hitler made somebody pancakes one time. I guarantee it happened. Yeah.
That dude tried to get into art school.
Yeah.
He wanted to be an artist.
He just wanted to paint pictures of puppy dogs.
Nobody ever thinks they're the villain in their own story.
No.
And Thanos certainly didn't. And you got to kind of look at where he's coming from and understand that. And
the scene with Gamora was the most, that was the scene that, showed you, I guessed it already when he's turned around. I was like, oh, he does love somebody. He loves her.
Yeah. Goodbye, Gamora.
And then he turns around and he's got a tear in his eye. And the fact that he loves her and doesn't want to do that, but he isn't going to bail on his commitment either.
Right.
He kills her anyway.
Yeah, he says something. He says, I've turned away from my destiny once before. I won't do that again.
Yeah.
That was intense. Yeah. And I think as a writer, you have to put more effort into your villain's backstory than your protagonist's backstory, because they need more of a motivation to go kill half the universe.
Exactly.
You don't just wake up one morning and be like, you know what, I think I'm going to be a villain today.
Yeah.
It's a natural thing for Superman. If he can, he can stop a train, so of course he's going to step in front of a train that would run people over. But it would take more motivation for Superman to not step in front of that train.
Right.
Something would have to be going on. So as a writer, I always like to put more effort and backstory into my villains to explain them.
Because the heroes are just reactionary.
Exactly.
They're reacting to what the villain does. The villain is the one that got up that morning and is like, I'm going to do some shit today.
Yeah.
Superman's just like, ugh, I got to fix the shit that the villain did today.
Right. I thought I was going to get to grocery shopping today,
but as I get older, I can't, you can't just accept superheroes. There's just superheroes doing superhero shit. I always think wait a minute, if there weren't bad guys to do stuff, what would superheroes even do?
Right. Batman came around because he wanted to stop the mob in Gotham. He wanted to clean out the corruption. But then by being there, he attracted all those villains to him. He kind of was like a magnet for him.
Yeah.
I've seen people debate whether Gotham would be better off without him, and that's when I think okay, you're getting into semantics too much.
Right.
We don't just want to see Batman beat up mobsters all day, so
exactly.
we need that
we need
counterweight.
The super villains.
Yeah.
So there's questions that come up with these characters that are very difficult to answer, like that. If there wasn't, Brainiac or Lex Luthor, what would Superman do all day?
Right.
He wouldn't be Superman. He would just be a dude.
Right.
You know, so
He
like,
beat Clark Kent. We're doing his journaling.
and
doing
like
his journalism.
I always wonder when I see like they always start off every Superman comic, every Superman cartoon starts off with like a bank heist. And you're like, why the fuck would you try to rob a bank in Metropolis?
Yeah, he can literally travel as the fast as what, light or sound. He can just whoop, and he's there, and he's in costume, and he's catching you, and now you're behind bars forever.
Yeah, why would you ever even try it?
Also, stop shooting at Superman.
Exactly.
You know
You're
it's not going to work.
bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop shooting at Superman. To go back to Marvel real quick, at the end when Thanos shows up in Infinity War, and you see, I guess he's called White Wolf now, Sebastian Stan, the Russian soldier.
White Wolf,
That's
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier, but they're gonna start calling him White Wolf. They will.
It's Wolf.
Wolf. Fuck you. Buy my book, A Pit of Wolves, when it comes out. By the way, speaking of wolves,
Why would you name your book something if you can't say?
I can pronounce it. But he comes running out and he's just shooting his like typical infantry machine gun at him, and it's like, that's not gonna hurt Thanos, you know? Right. Like, stop doing that.
Yeah.
It's just a little tiny bullet. You're hitting him with like vibranium weapons that aren't hurting him.
Right.
Don't shoot little tiny 5.56 rounds at him. Stop.
I just didn't even understand why Winter Soldier was in that battle. I was like,
because he was.
Don't you just look around and be like, I've only got a robot arm. Like, that's all I got.
Well, at least they didn't like throw Hawkeye in. They're like, Hawkeye, we brought you back, and he was like, oh, why am I here?
Exactly.
But then again, people make that argument for Batman all the time. He's just a guy. Well, yeah, but he wrecks shit.
Yeah, Batman's not just a guy.
Yeah, he's more than a mere mortal.
That's the whole thing with Batman. But that's why you have to have clever writing. Show Batman. Just don't tell us that he's this badass.
Don't tell us he's the world's best detective, and then never show us him. Like, don't show us him solving a crime.
If anything, she's showing the opposite. Like they show him just going after Superman for no reason. You know, like without thinking about it at all.
Right.
So you're showing us that he's an asshole, but you're telling us he's awesome.
Yeah,
and that's like the guy that goes to the bar and he's like a little puny dude. And he's like, I know so much fucking karate, I'll fucking take you out, all you. And you're like, don't say it, just do it.
Yeah. I think in writing, the number one rule is show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. And they're showing us one thing and they're telling us another. And maybe that's why these movies are coming off as just hard to watch.
Right. That's like your girlfriend telling you that she loves you, but she just had a dick in her mouth.
Right.
That was not your dick.
Not
like
your
somebody
penis.
else's penis. And she's like, I love you so much. You're like, there's a scent of like another man's musk on your breath.
Yeah. Actions speak louder than words, right?
Exactly.
It's the same thing in writing. Show me, don't tell me.
Exactly. All right. So I'm going to get into like Justice League, where very easy decisions could have been made to fix the movie and make it better with everything that they had in there. So we start off with a clip. It's supposed to be like a phone clip of some kids interviewing Superman.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because we know too much about the movies nowadays, but I know when I see that scene, somebody said, oh, we need to show Superman earlier in the movie. We need to remind people that Superman's a part of the Justice League, so let's throw Superman in there. But we don't have any footage of Henry, so let's pull him off the movie that he's on, where now they won't contract us to use the mustache. All right?
Oh, that was so bad.
So I understand, like, okay, that's a bad spot to be in as a filmmaker. Shit like that happens all the time. Like, your lead actress fucking dyes her hair halfway through the movie or cuts it, and you're just like, what are you doing? Why did you do this to me? We were filming a movie. You couldn't wait a week.
Actors are idiots, I gotta say.
I understand. And in this situation, like, it was kind of a pissing contest where they were like, no, like, you're not shaving your mustache because if it doesn't grow back right, that fucks up our movie. So you have to do reshoots on...
Do they know how that works, though? I can't imagine... Here's what I can't imagine, is that it would have been harder to retouch up a CGI mustache in the other movie where he grew one himself.
Right.
And then they touched it up to make it look, even better or whatever, instead of trying to cover up the whole mustache with CGI, which was just terrible.
It was terrible. It looked really bad. Now... I even can understand, like, going into that being like, okay, we're gonna have to do something about Henry's mustache. We don't have a choice. We got to do reshoots. We got to get more Superman moments in this. The moments that they added of Superman, I thought were important moments, and they were small moments, but they were important moments. Like, and I can clearly see when, I don't know if other people can tell, but I can clearly tell where the moments that were added.
Yeah.
And like him talking to Lois in the cornfield was an added moment because his lip's all fucked up in that scene. But also, his lip was all fucked up in that opening sequence with the cell phone footage. Why would anybody, I mean, like, on my level where I don't spend any money on my movies and I don't make any money, I would maybe do something like that and just be like, you know,
right.
my 64 friends are going to forgive it. You know, but and when you're going to put a movie out to 1 million people and this is your tentpole movie, you open it with a bad CG shot with Superman having a fucked up lip.
Yeah.
And it was just an unthought out scene. They literally were like, let's shoehorn him in. Those little kids say, what's the best part about being human? And then Henry looks up into the sky, and I don't know if he's listening to a charbroiled burger being made at In-N-Out and he's excited to go see it, or if he's thinking about Lois's punani. Like, I don't know what he's thinking or what goes on his face, but he smiles weirdly. His lips all fucked up, and then cut to black. Then we open up in Gotham.
Which I just want to point out that in the comic books and in the animated movies, Superman would not be holding himself aloof from those kids. He would not be like acting distant and strange with them. He'd be down on one knee.
Yeah.
He'd be high-fiving them. He'd be giving them autographs and pictures and stuff. Like,
exactly.
He was all about the kids, and he was all about like just being an amenable guy who you could approach and talk to.
Right.
So to show him like all being weird like that was just it was a very bad way to start things.
And kids interviewing Superman, just like, if there's social media, Superman's got his own Instagram, and he's already like, my favorite part about being on Earth is this. Like, everybody would know about what's going on with Superman.
Yeah, Superman would have a publicist.
If he didn't want anybody to know, then he wouldn't be having an interview with some fucking little kids. He'd be like, talk to you later, kids. I've got to go do some important shit. And he'd fly away.
In-N-Out.
Yep. In-N-Out burgers waiting for me. Boom. Because I can eat as many as I want and I never gain a pound.
Oh, that would be
Fuck
amazing.
those guys. Oh, that would be the best superpower.
That would be a great superpower.
Is to eat In-N-Out all the time and not gain any pounds.
Super metabolism. That's what we need.
So then we cut to Gotham and we see this supposedly nondescript burglar robbing a building. But it's not a nondescript burglar. It's Robert Paulson from Fight Club.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we see that guy, which
his
we're obviously
name
like...
was Robert Paulson.
His name was Robert Paulson. Yeah. So we see Robert Paulson, who's a big deal in another movie. So we were like, oh, well, there's got to be some story to him. No, there's no story to him. He's just supposed to be some burglar. So they should have got some burglar. And that guy doesn't look like a burglar. He looks like a federal agent.
Right.
So, and he's coming out like, and things are clanking together like he stole like pots and pans from this house. So Batman does some crazy horse flips and jumps into the scene and beats the shit out of this guy. And the guy's like, what do you want? What kind of question is that?
I want to beat the shit out of you because you're a criminal.
Because you're a criminal, exactly.
And then we also have Batman branding people, which I've never seen that before.
I've never seen that before. If we're in a world now, I'm okay with being in a world where Batman does brand people, but we don't have any backstory on why.
But we
do know why he's Batman, because his parents got killed.
Yeah, again.
But why is he branding people with a bat?
And then the reason they explained for it was so that these people will get killed in prison.
Why would you get killed for getting arrested by Batman? Probably half the dudes in there did.
Probably going to be a hero in there and be like, man, I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for Batman. And everyone in there would be like, yeah, we understand, man.
Like the biggest, toughest guy in there is like, oh, you got your Batman brand? Me too, bro. Batman gang.
Once again, Batman doesn't like to kill people. Now, Ben Affleck as Batman likes to fucking murder people.
He's got machine guns on everything.
Doesn't make sense.
Everything he owns has machine guns on it.
It does. And he just also runs people over.
Yeah.
That was a great.
Yeah.
If my car kills them, it's not my fault.
Exactly.
It's not on my conscience.
That's his whole thing is if I don't physically kill them, if prisoners kill them in jail, then it's okay by me.
Again, going back to the essence of the character. The
essence of the character, exactly. All right, so Robert Paulson, he hangs Robert Paulson over the side of the building, apparently to attract the alien that Batman somehow knows is attracted to fear. Robert Paulson does not look afraid in this scene. He knows Batman's not going to drop him off the cliff, although he should because Batman shoots people.
Yeah, he does murder a lot of people, so you should be way more scared of him than like Nolan's Batman.
But this, again, is Batman. I don't know if they thought it was clever setting the scene up like that, but it seems like Batman is a big, dumb fucking oaf who couldn't think of a better way to pull this alien out of hiding, which through the whole movie, they're never hiding. They're flying in swarms throughout the city.
Right.
So I don't know why this thing was hiding. And And the whole scene just ends with the guy burning up, but leaving his symbol of the mother box when he burns up. So why was he hiding?
I don't.
Maybe he was hiding because if he gets burned up, then he's like, then they'll know we're after the mother box. Because every time I burn up, I fucking leave a symbol behind. I don't know.
This is where I think this is Zack Snyder. He's not the best writer, and the most famous.
He was going for what will look visually cool,
and that's what he does. And the most, if you think about him, like why is he a famous director? Well, it's because of Watchmen and 300, and those two things came from graphic novels that were and comic books that were already written, and he didn't have to like deviate much.
When he tried to do his own vision, he did. What was that movie called? With the hot chicks dancing. Knockout, super. It sucked. That's why how bad it is. Sucked. Yeah, I can't even
those
remember
girls
the
in the
title.
asylum.
Yeah,
and they're like in some fantasy world, and they sucker punch.
Sucker punch. Why was it called Sucker Punch? Did anybody get sucker punched in that movie?
I don't know.
I didn't see it.
only watched like the first 5 minutes, and I was like, wow, that's garbage.
I fast forwarded into all the action sequences because I didn't need any of the stuff about her being sad in the asylum.
Right. We're in an asylum. We get it.
Yeah, like I got it. So stylistically, that movie was gorgeous. Seeing the trailer, I was like, this is going to be the best movie I've ever seen.
Right.
This is going to be the next Matrix.
It looked pretty cool like that. I remember when I saw that, I was on a bus and they were showing that on the bus, and I like watched the first 5 minutes of it on the bus screen, and it was so bad that I put on my headphones and just
you give up on a movie
else.
on a bus,
yeah,
that is the worst.
Because I've sat through terrible movies like on buses and planes and stuff.
Yeah,
they showed us on the plane to Hawaii. My wife and I were going there for a honeymoon, and they showed us this movie about a girl who got her arm bit off by a shark.
That's not a good.
Yeah, I was like, why? Yeah. Show me that on the way out. Don't show me that on the way in there, Hawaiian Airlines.
Yeah, because then you're like, well, I really feel like blessed that I didn't get my arm bit off by a shark.
Right.
That movie upset me anyway, because would you surf again after your arm's been bit off by a shark?
Apparently, if you're a 12-year-old girl, you just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, she's just like, that fish was doing what its fishy self does.
Right.
And she forgave it. What if another fish is doing what it fishy does and bites off your other arm?
Aquaman's not going to save you.
Bite me once, shame on you. Bite me twice, shame on me.
Bite me twice, I've got no arms left.
I got no arms. So I'm going to learn how to, I don't know. I guess you can't surf with no arms, right?
I did meet a soldier who had his hand blown off by a grenade, and they gave him a prosthetic. And he was like, he wouldn't shake people's hands with it and stuff because he goes, I don't know how hard to squeeze. I'm actually like really scared about jerking off because I'm just going to rip my dick off. So you get a sweet prosthetic, but they're not perfect yet.
Right. But now if that guy blows his prosthetic hand off with a grenade, you're going to be like, dude, shame on you.
Well, at least he didn't grab it with his good hand.
All right. So more bullshit with Justice League. Just looking at the script, I could have been like, you guys are fucking this up. Batman, he's going to put together the Justice League. We've already talked about that shouldn't happen. Yeah. But he goes to meet Aquaman and tells Aquaman in a bar full of people that he's Batman in the first couple seconds of meeting him. Ugh. What the fuck? So then later on, we see Batman building a huge cargo plane. A cargo plane that's, if you really dig deep, I guess it's to shuffle the Justice League around because he's putting a team together. A team that 50% of the members of fly.
Yeah. And by the way, like I've never seen a bat cargo plane in the animated movies, the comics. They never fucking needed it.
No, he's
already got the bat jet.
Plane. Yeah.
He's got the bat jet.
And it looks like a bat.
And
it's like
also,
his thing.
This goes back to, again, the essence of the character. Batman doesn't give a flying fuck how you get around. He's just worried about himself. Like,
exactly.
I don't care how you're going to get up to the tower. I'll get there by myself.
He's
you
like,
figure it out.
Aquaman, you can ride bitch on Cyborg.
Yeah, exactly.
I am not riding bitch. I will be in a cool jet.
That I made.
I'm
made Batman.
myself. Yeah, exactly. I'm not worried about how you're going to get there, Aqualad.
That was never a conflict in the animated stuff. It was never like, well, how do we get there?
No.
I guess the cargo plane.
And apparently he had enough spare parts left over from his cargo plane to make a spider crawler that he used in the sewer that looks like maybe it could be a Spider-Man vehicle. If Spider-Man lost his fucking mind and decided he needed a large metal vehicle to crawl and move half as slow as he can move himself on his webs.
See, this is where they're getting away from the essence of the character, where Batman is the world's best detective.
No.
He's a smart guy. He's a good fighter. You're getting way too involved in the gadgets and the vehicles he has. They were focused way too much on that aspect, which is not Batman.
Right.
That is he gets in a situation and he goes, "Oh, I didn't have everything I needed for the situation, so if it happens again, I'll have this."
Right.
And that's how he gets his gadgets. That's how he figures out what he needs. He doesn't just go, "I guess I'll need a cargo plane sometime in the future, and I guess I'll need a spider thing sometime in the future." No. He gets around the sewers just fine.
Exactly. It was that whole thing just like made me fucking mad. Like there was no reason for that. And I mean, I guess maybe the reason was we want to make a toys of that.
Yep.
But
money.
Fuck, dude, there's so many cooler things they could have made that would have been a cool toy other than that thing.
Pretty much any time you show me Batman on a motorcycle, I'm happy. If you show me Batman rolling around on his motorcycle, I'm like, cool.
In the last animated thing that I saw that my kid was watching, it's like Batman Unlimited. His motorcycle turns into a wolf robot. A wolf robot.
That's how you say it, yeah.
Wolf.
That's how I also say it.
Let's hear you say what kind of robot?
A wolf robot.
That was good. But you had to think about it. Not fair.
Fuck you.
So yeah, it turns into a wolf robot. And you know what? I'm like, I would have rather seen a wolf robot that turned into a motorcycle in Justice League than to see that stupid spider crawly machine that he made.
Yeah.
That did nothing.
I don't know. Those both seem pretty bad. I don't want to see either in the live action.
I don't either. I don't want to see either one. I just want him to have cool shit in his belt.
Right.
If he can't fit in his belt, we don't need it.
Like pretty much.
And he doesn't need it.
And really the only thing he needs from his belt, smoke bombs, grappling hook.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Smoke bombs, grappling hook.
And those little bombs to stick on metal stuff and blows up.
True. But everything else, he's just gonna punch you.
So that happened. It made me fucking furious. Oh, so then he goes to recruit the Flash, tells him even faster that he's Batman than he told Aquaman he was Batman.
Right.
Why is he trusting these people?
He knows them none at all. He knows they have powers. They could be villains.
Why wouldn't he go to them as Batman and say, "I want you in the Justice League"? Why does he go to him as Bruce Wayne?
Doesn't make any sense.
Because Ben Affleck didn't want to be in the costume that day, probably. Horse shit.
The actor's fucking shit up.
Horse shit. Yeah. That shouldn't even be an option. You know what? Go back to rehab, Ben Affleck.
Cast me as Batman. I've got the size for it.
I'll be in the suit all day. I'll never
Batman,
take it off.
And I won't give that director any shit.
Nope.
I'll sleep in that
I'm going to
thing.
sleep in that suit. I'm going to poop in that suit. I'm going to have a little latch that comes out the back.
Well, I think they do, right?
No. Like, Christian Bale would just piss himself in his suit.
That's cool, because sometimes I can't even be bothered to get my sweatpants off, so I just pee myself.
That's really warm. That's really warm. Okay, so another fundamental bullshit. So the whole plot is it stems on the fact that Superman died. So now the evil guys are saying like the Kryptonian is dead, so now is our time to take over the Earth.
Right.
Based on their whole timeline, Superman hasn't been around that long.
Right. They could have been taking over the Earth way before that.
Superman showed up. And then when Superman showed up, really all he did was knock down some buildings trying to stop those guys. I don't think they'd be like, ooh, this guy's a force to be reckoned with. They'd be like, we're going to take this dude out first, and then we're going to do our invasion thing.
Remember that even the Kryptonians, General Zod and his crew, and Superman himself didn't know the powers the yellow sun would give him.
Exactly.
So when his dad shot him off towards Earth, I don't think he really understood, like, this is going to make you a god. Right. And so why would they know he was so powerful? They wouldn't. They would just be like, oh, he's very equatable to like Wonder Woman, you know?
When his dad explains to the baby Superman like what it's going to do, he's like, you're going to have beautiful blue eyes. You're going to have the largest penis on Earth. And you're going to be able to get food from Outback Steakhouse for free because of your amazing looks. Right. And like, but he didn't know. He was like, "You're not gonna fly. You're not gonna be able to pick up trucks." Like, he didn't know any of that stuff.
He didn't know that.
He was like, "You're gonna be
in Krypton. They're fighting with guns and they're wearing armor. They don't know how to do that on Krypton. They don't have the radiation from the sun. They didn't realize that if they all, if the Kryptonians knew that, guess what? They'd all be coming to Earth. They'd all want to be like that.
They'd all be like, "Let's get in this fucking ship." I never understood why
it's weird.
Superman's
our
dad
planet is dying, so I guess we'll just stay here and watch it explode, or we could all go to Earth and be gods.
Yeah. I didn't understand why Superman's father could only build a baby-sized capsule. If he was so smart, why didn't he build one big enough for him and his wife to fit in?
Right, and just be like, we're peacing out.
Yeah,
Bye.
and then they'd be the super family.
This is the symbol of hope.
At least in the first Superman, they had that crazy little thing that only a baby could fit in. Right. It looked like a little, like a little, what do you call it, comet or something.
Yeah.
It kind of made sense.
No, this one was a full-size ship.
Yeah.
It was like, I guess I can only fit my son in there. And his wife's like, what about me? Like, screw you.
I was wondering, too, they sent his costume with him. But so, like, they were like, we know your fucking shirt size when you grow up.
I'd like to think it could grow and shrink as needed.
Well, it is like Under Armour, so it can't shrink.
Like,
but if you've ever worn a size too small Under Armour...
yeah, nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, no, it's uncomfortable. Okay, so Batman talks to Superman like they're best buds. And he talks about Superman. He's like, Superman was the hope of a new generation.
Right after he was trying to actively kill that guy.
Exactly.
And is definitely largely responsible for his death.
Exactly. Exactly. That makes no effing sense at all. And then Batman would be the last person on Earth who would say, hey, let's try to bring him back to life.
Right.
Through this crazy scheme that was just like, they're like, okay, so they built Doomsday because all that shit spilled out of Superman's ship. So let's put Superman in that milky shit.
Like, this will definitely not turn him into a villain.
With a mother box, which they don't understand the technology of. And they say that Cyborg is from the mother box, so why didn't they just put him in the bathtub with Cyborg?
That whole Cyborg backstory was just a mess.
It's outrageous.
Yeah, it was
He's
a mess.
never been part of mother box. It's disgusting.
They honestly, like, I watched, I can't remember the name of the animated movie right now. It's on Hulu. It was a great Justice League movie, and it's a Justice League origin movie where they're all coming together for the first time, and it gives you Cyborg's backstory, getting caught up in an experiment with his dad as everything's happening. Mm-hmm. And in this 90-minute, not even 90-minute animated version, they did a way better job than Justice League, the live action. Mm-hmm. And I also have to say that was one of the coolest Superman costumes I've ever seen was in this movie. It had like a high collar.
That's blue. The one that they have in the new Death of Superman.
Yeah.
Is he's in that one. He's got the no red shorts.
Yeah.
It's just no red. Yeah,
just down. Blue. And he's just got like traps for days. Oh, yeah, dude's muscled as hell.
Yeah, his cape looks almost like Roman.
Right.
The way that his cape is on there.
And they incorporated Green Lantern into that a little more, and that's something I would love to see DC do more, is like an actual, real Green Lantern movie directed by Jason Bromley.
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
Now you're talking.
I don't know if you guys, our listeners, know this. Jason made a Green Lantern movie, put it on YouTube. It was instantly stolen, and they gave that part to Ryan Reynolds, and then they fucked it all up.
It's true. They really did use my Green Lantern. Mine was like a more humorous take on Green Lantern, and they were like, they really did.
There were so many similarities between those two movies that I was like, this is getting creepy now.
And I actually just I just added a bunch of lens flare to that Green Lantern fan film, and it really boosted the effects and made it look cooler. So I'll post that to our link or whatever I can do.
Speaking of gems that DC needs to use, the Green Lantern stories with Sinestro, like, why can't we see that?
Oh, exactly.
That would be amazing.
Even Sinestro would have been a great would have been a great villain in a Justice League movie. He could have been the Loki to the DC universe. Yep. It would have been so much better. So, okay. So we've talked all this shit about the DC universe and how they fucked it all up. Let's talk about how they can fix it now.
I just want to reiterate, go back to your core. Go back to your roots. Go through don't have people that are executives at the studio that don't read this stuff make the decisions.
Well, they've got Jeff Johns now. They fired the other guy. Jeff Johns, the lead of comic books, he's like an editor at DC, is now in charge of the DC universe. But as his first decision, it's make a standalone Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix.
Which I think Joaquin Phoenix is an amazing actor with an incredible amount of range. I am excited for it, but again, they're just scrapping. They're just burning things down.
Don't burn it down and scrap it. They can still save it. And they have, I've got a golden ticket. I've got a ray of sunshine in my butt. They have this thing that they can use, and it's the Flashpoint story.
Yes.
They're looking for a standalone Flash film. Flashpoint is it.
Yes.
You show Flash, fuck up the timeline. We can reset Batman without having to say Ben Affleck was never Batman.
Yep.
We reset Batman. We start off resetting Batman by having what they were trying to set up with his showing his origin story again, was we were seeing some folks from The Walking Dead playing Batman's parents.
Yep.
Which in the Flashpoint storyline, Jeffrey Dean Morgan is playing Bruce Wayne's father. In Flashpoint, Bruce Wayne gets killed in the alley.
Yes.
And his father
Thomas.
becomes Batman.
Yes, I love that story.
To
that
see
was so good.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan
And
playing
his
Batman.
mom becomes Harley Quinn.
So that would be fucking amazing. But that's not to say I want Jeffrey Dean Morgan as my Batman. Use Flashpoint to say, okay, when Flash comes back, some things have changed. Dick Grayson is now Batman.
And this was all because Flash tried to save his mom's life.
Exactly.
And it fucked everything up.
fucked everything up.
So he had to go back and let his mom die.
Exactly.
And you're just like, oh, it's an emotional, heartbreaking story.
Heartbreaking story. It would be a great standalone Flash film. You know, just to, because I think that they brought Ezra Miller into the thing as the Flash, and they made him the silly goofball of the team.
I think as an actor, I think he's doing a good job with what he's got.
He's got a hard job to do because he's trying to make a new Flash. We've got a television series right now,
which
Flash,
is pretty
which
good,
is pretty decent.
For a TV series. I'm not a fan of like 30-minute superhero episodes because
they're pretty
too much drama.
Yeah.
And then let's resolve it at the end of 30 minutes.
It's
I
a
really
whole
don't
lot of
like
Dawson
that.
Creek and a little bit of Supergirl stuff.
I don't like that stuff.
So yeah, I'm not a big fan of that stuff. I'm glad a lot of people wanted Grant Gustin, the guy who plays Flash on TV, to be in the movies. I don't think that's a good idea. I think it's a better idea to keep those universes separate. But take Ezra Miller. I think that they have a lot of leeway that they could do with that character, and because they made him so funny, you know, you want that Marvel fucking blood? Get those dudes who wrote Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Takahide Wahakahe, that is the director's name.
I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I pronounced that right. So get him and have him do the Flash movie because that's what you need with DC. Everybody's complaining that the DC characters are too light. Or too dark, I mean. I'm sorry.
They're too dark without explaining why they're dark.
Exactly. And then you see, have you seen the Shazam trailer?
Yes, I thought that should, again, but I'm wary.
Me too.
Because DC makes a really good trailer.
Exactly. DC
but
makes a
I
really
thought
good
that trailer was hilarious.
It looks like that's perfect. That's awesome. But Shazam is not like that in the comic books. He's not like a funny, lighthearted guy. He's the kid, and then when he turns into Shazam, he's like, I'm like Superman.
I disagree. I've seen him joke around a lot, and I've seen him still act like a kid when he's a big dude.
What about Kingdom Come? Like he was like the big bad in Kingdom Come.
Yes, that's different. That's the Kingdom Come is the one with the old and new Justice League where they're fighting each other, but in the Justice League origin I was just talking about, he's very much still a silly guy. He's like hitting on Lois Lane, he's hitting on Wonder Woman, and so is Superman. Oh, nice. So they're both like trying to like hit on Wonder Woman, which just made it hilarious because like Green Lantern tried to, and Superman's just totally like shutting them both down.
Right.
Yeah, it was great.
I love that. I love those kinds of like little relationship moments between the superheroes. To me, that's what makes it great, and that's what we need more of in the DC universe. But what I was saying with Flash is that, you have an opportunity there to make a really fun, lighthearted Flash, but also cool at the end. At the end, it has, because of the whole thing with his mother, it has gravitas to it. So it could have comedy, it could have drama, it could have action. It has the crossover potential to have Superman, Batman, everybody could be in it, and different versions of it, and you can play with it. And at the end of that, let's make it where we've created either one DC universe that we then follow, and you've got to think it through all the way. Think it through to the next 10 movies.
Have a long-term plan.
Have a long-term plan and say, okay, we kind of fucked up. We can fix it with Flashpoint.
They can't even plan one movie right.
And if they do it and they're like, yeah, we did it, and this is my fear with Shazam. I feel like with Shazam, they're like, oh, Thor did really good, and because they made him funny. We need a character like that. Let's make Shazam really funny and lighthearted. Give the fans what they want. If that doesn't succeed, the next movie's going to be the darkest, most fucked up,
They're
grim.
going to swing the pendulum back and forth
because they just go all the way or all the way back. You know, they don't think it through. Think it through to the next at least 5 movies, and then
just have a plan.
And it's just have a plan and stick with it. If something doesn't hit, adjust it to fix it. Don't be like back to the drawing board.
Yep.
Because that's how you create just horseshit, and nobody likes that. Nobody can, part of what makes these characters great is that they have a story and that we're on this journey with them. And if you don't give us that, if you just have this roller coaster where it's all over the place and there's different Jokers and there's different Batmans and different Supermans.
And this is, like you said, the Flashpoint's a way to really tidy it up.
Tighten it
And
up.
we can see other people like in the mantle of Batman. We could see a one-off of Thomas Wayne.
Exactly.
And if you did the Red Sun, we could see a one-off of someone else's Superman. It would just
Exactly.
make it interesting and fresh without losing the real story.
Well, and I think that what they could do is, like I was saying, I would like it if they would streamline it, but I would accept it if they really are stuck on this thing that they want a Jared Leto Joker in their DC universe and they want Joaquin Phoenix in this other darker
That's
universe.
not going to work.
I think it could if they call it Flashpoint.
Yeah. I mean,
If
if
you
they
do Red
but-
Sun Flashpoint and you do Red Sun Joker or Flashpoint Joker,
Yeah.
you could do these offshoot, these darker characters, but put it in this other universe that doesn't have your universe, and don't make it all willy-nilly where we just do this movie here, this movie there.
Yeah.
It's in a universe.
You're going to confuse people if they're not comic book fans. I think they're gonna be very confused if you're simultaneously making movies with
Right.
Leto and Joaquin.
Mm-hmm.
If they just leave Leto alone now, if they don't ever bring him back as Joker, then yes, they'll be fine.
Right.
But if they're making movies simultaneously
That's
with
the
two
thing.
different actors playing
Mm-hmm.
the same character, people are gonna be like, "This is garbage. I'm out."
Yeah. If you want to do the standalone Batman and you want Joaquin Phoenix to be the new Joker because you missed with Jared Leto, which I understand, what Jared Leto did is kind of hard to watch.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and there's cool things with it. Like, he's got the gold teeth,
Yeah.
which I was like, that's horseshit. But I heard a rumor, like what you were talking about earlier, that after Batman killed Robin, the Joker punched the Joker in the face and knocked all of his teeth out.
The Batman push.
Or the Batman punched the Joker in the face and knocked all of his teeth out. And if that was true, I'm like, fucking A.
Show me that.
Show me that.
Don't
exactly.
just give Joker a grill and a fan. Because what it looked like in the movie was Joker's got a grill and he's got super fly clothes and he's got this like really crazy Lamborghini. So it looked like this was the Joker that liked to buy really fancy things for himself. It didn't. It looked like he got that grill because he wanted gold in his mouth, not because his teeth got punched out. If you had showed us that, then I would have been like, okay,
I would
cool.
have been like, yeah, that's if you show me the reason for it, cool. Why would he make that circle of guns and knives that he
Yeah.
laid in the middle of
Right.
in Suicide Squad?
Right.
First off, that's an expensive circle.
Again, that goes to Zack Snyder just wanting to show us visually
It
cool
was-
things without even thinking.
It was a
about 'em.
trailer moment, but
Yeah.
there was no reason for it.
Agreed. And if you're just going to show us things for no reason, show us more Margot Robbie, Show us more of that.
Exactly. Like, I'll look at that all day long.
Yeah, her as Harley Quinn is definitely her sexiest role.
Yeah, and they're like, well, and then right after that, everybody's like, we love Harley Quinn. They're like, we're going to do a standalone movie. And then they're like, I don't know if a small woman character is going to be able to pull off a standalone movie.
She could.
It doesn't matter if it's a woman, if it's a man, if it's a black guy, if it's a fucking Asian dude.
All that backlash. All that backlash about Black Panther when it came out. It's got a whole black cast. It'll never do well. Like, screw you. That movie was one of Marvel's best.
It's not, there's like 5 dudes in the South that are like, I ain't watching that movie because it's got a black in it.
According to our last election, it's a lot more than 5 dudes. Unfortunately, it's about 50% of people.
All right, well, that 50% isn't going to see the movie, but they weren't going to go see the movie anyway. So
That's a good point.
it's all about character. And with the majority of the population, it doesn't matter if it's a girl movie or who's in it or what their color is or what their sexuality is. If it's a good movie with good characters, we're going to be there in the theater. We're going to give you our $9.
Yeah, this is one thing. You guys know me. I like to get on here and talk about history movies, and I hate it in movies like Last Samurai, where they have this great story to tell, and they have to like wedge a white guy in there to tell the story. It's like, I didn't need Tom
The
Cruise in
Wall
it.
with Matt Damon.
Didn't even see it.
Why?
Didn't even fucking see it because I saw that trailer and was like, oh, white guy saves China. No thanks.
Yeah.
Like, no thank you.
Yeah.
And then The Last Samurai, like, if you had just taken Tom Cruise out of that movie, that would have been awesome. Been a great movie all by itself.
Valkyrie. Another Tom Cruise problem. Why couldn't you get a German guy in there to play that part?
Yeah, I was
you
going
know?
to say, those are white guys, but like, yeah, get a German guy to play that part or get someone that's at least going to do an accent.
Exactly. Like, they just are like, I mean, it's Tom Cruise. Like, he's one of the last superstars alive, but
Is he a superstar anymore?
he's really, his torch is getting dim.
9 Mission Impossible movies later, we
Yeah.
all know how crazy Scientology is now. Like,
Yeah, that whole dark universe thing that Universal wanted to do, where they wanted to make their monsters like a Marvel universe, that thing tanked hard.
yeah.
And Tommy Cruise was a big part of that. But anyway, we're getting off track, which we tend to do.
We do.
I feel like I'm sweating. I am sopping wet.
He is. He's very, very excited right now.
I'm very like angry, and I have passion in my heart. I can feel it beating, which might be a bad sign that I'm about to have a heart attack. But I I can.
It's okay. I saw someone do CPR once.
All right, good. I think you just want to put your lips on mine. I've seen how you've been looking at me this entire podcast.
That's true.
You're just like, if he just passes out, I'm gonna be on him. I'm gonna pounce on him.
Here, have some of my drink.
So, all right. I mean, I think we've done it.
Yeah, stick to your roots, DC. Go back to your comics, find the gems that are in there, bring us those gems, and fucking have a plan.
If nothing else, bring Brian and I on together. I think that we would be their fixers, dude.
Yes, we have 64 listeners. They would be, what a huge crowd we could bring.
I know. Those are 64 people that you don't have right now that you could have, the Talking Poop listeners.
They probably have them. If they're gonna listen to us talk about DC, they've probably watched DC.
They've probably watched all the DC movies.
Yeah, we didn't think that
what?
through. We really pulled
No.
we really pulled a DC on that one.
We're really yanking our own chain on this thing and really making it seem really self-important. But I just think that it's just so frustrating to me that these answers seem very easy. And I talk to other folks that are uninitiated.
Yeah.
And they also have great things to say. So I don't understand why people that are getting paid, and I understand there's politics. I understand we got to sell Happy Meals. I understand all that. But I just think that we can sell Happy Meals and make great decisions.
Because if you don't make a great movie, you're not going to sell your merchandise.
Exactly. You're going to have those fucking Justice League lunch bags sitting in the discount pile at Walmart.
Yep. You know, yeah, I just dropped my daughter off at kindergarten, and all the kids had, you know, Rocket and Groot backpacks and Thor backpacks and Wonder Woman backpacks. Like, I didn't see any Superman, I didn't see any Batman. The Wonder Woman I saw in a couple girls, but mostly it was like a bunch of Marvel things that the kids were into.
Yeah, DC. And I'm not gonna lie, like DC has always been my jam.
Me too.
Like
Me
I
too.
love Marvel.
Because
I don't think that you have to love one or the other,
No.
but DC's been the characters that I gravitate
For
towards.
me, it's Batman.
Batman, Superman, and Green Lantern are my jam.
Yeah.
I could have made a fan film on any superhero, and I picked the Green Lantern. Ryan Reynolds hadn't diarrheaed on it yet. This is pre-Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern.
I want to say that wasn't his fault, but that movie's hard to watch.
No, because you can watch Deadpool and you see an amazing performance.
Yeah, talk about a great movie.
Yeah, talk about great writing.
Yep.
Well written, standalone story, great character, hilarious.
And speaking of politics in movies, he had to fight for that for so
long.
And he had to do the shitty Deadpool in the X-Men thing.
Exactly, just to make it happen.
Just because they said, if you don't do this, we'll never let you be Deadpool. I mean,
Right.
he had to do so much bullshit to get to that point to make a good movie.
Yeah.
It's like, why can't you just let people
And
make
maybe
these
that's
good
why
movies?
it stays amazing, because he puts so much of himself into it. You know?
Yeah.
Like Ben Affleck, like I literally saw a picture of him this morning just like passed out in the back of his ex-wife's car. Like, and it's like Ben Affleck goes to rehab again.
Man, that guy he's just not Batman.
He's not Batman.
a Batman.
And we need to fix the mistake. I understand why they did it, but
Cast me as Batman.
just listen to that Batman voice. Come on, Brian, say I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. Justice.
All right, that's what we're going out on. I can't think of a better way to go out on that. So.
You want to do Fuck, Marry, Kill?
Oh, fuck, marry, kill. All right. Fuck, marry, kill. Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor, Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor, and
Jesse Eisenberg.
Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor.
Wow, okay. Can I kill all three of them?
That's not how the game is played, I'm afraid.
Fuck me. All right. I'm going to kill Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor because he's super annoying and I don't want to hear him talk as Lex Luthor anymore. I'm going to fuck Kevin Spacey, or I guess let him sexually assault me.
I think you're too old for him.
I might be a little too old for him. I'm going to just get that one out of the way. And then I'm going to marry Gene Hackman and hope that he dies soon. We don't have to have sex too much, but I do think it'd be fun just to hang out with that guy. Maybe on a porch. We'd be like an old couple together. We'd be in rocking chairs. I could see a life with Gene Hackman.
I could see that too. You know what? And I would be his Miss Tessmacher.
Yeah.
Or his Ned Beatty. I like his teeth. All right, guys. I think that's it today for Talking Poop. Thanks for joining us. Tune in for the next one.
Follow us on Instagram, it's Talking Poop Podcast, and please follow me at Brian Gunn Books. That's Instagram and Twitter. Brian Gunn Books. Brian BRYAN.
That's another thing. People are having a hard time finding Talking Poop when they're looking for their podcast.
Yes.
Search Talking Poop Podcast, because that's what's going to bring us up on YouTube.
Talking
and
Poop,
Instagram.
all one word, yes?
Talking Poop, exactly. And then Talking Poop Podcast. Just look that up on YouTube and Facebook, and that's where you're going to find us. All right. Thanks so much for listening, guys, and tune in next time. Talking Boop.